YouTube Ozeko in the Goat House is back with another episode of Hot Take Thursday, taking a look at NFL bold predictions / hot takes for week 3 here, sent in by you guys through that Twitter. So you're going to want to follow the Twitter for this video, for other videos we get you guys involved with shout outs, and for live games. Thursday Night Football is tonight, Dolphins-Jags. I'm tweeting during that entire game like I do for every single game all year, so that's a must-follow. Would really appreciate your support. Link down below. We have an Instagram, podcast, Patreon, so a lot going down. You can find a link for those in the description and comments as well. We do the podcast every Wednesday night, and I really liked our Week 3 episode here yesterday, actually. That was entertaining in my opinion, so you check that out. Worth looking into. But for this video, a lot of you sending in your hot takes. I appreciate you very much. I kind of scroll through and pick some that really catch my eye. Can't use all of them because we'd be here all day. The graphics guy would never get his job done. Appreciate all of you. I apologize if I didn't use yours. But we're going to look through these hot takes. I'm going to decide how hot they are, how bold they are, if they're realistic, if we can expect them to happen. So really excited for this video. Something new we're doing this year. Always adding new videos. So check out our slate of videos there, and please subscribe to the channel. Patreon has bonus content as well. Junior score predictions, my locks of the week, bets of the week, college football score picks. Updated playoff predictions will start in the near future here, and then we'll keep updating those every single week leading up to the playoffs. Bonus videos, Discord access, much more, adding more to that as well. Let's go on to the first one here, the O-Meister. Josh Allen has another 4-touchdown passing game against the Rams, so I don't want to say Josh Allen's really shocking the world, but I think he's impressing the world very much on what he's doing right now and showing his improvement. Last week, lights out, yards, touchdowns, just play in general. Can he do this again against the Rams? I'm gonna say this is a hot take. I won't say piping hot. Pretty close though. I'd say it's a hot take because the Rams are a lot different than the Jets and the Dolphins for sure. And that's why it's kind of borderline piping, but I think it's definitely doable. I think he's very capable of doing this again. But looking at the Rams secondary combined with Aaron Donald, I definitely think it's unlikely to happen again, but again, he can do it. I'm going to say it's a hot take there for Josh Allen to repeat. From Leatherhead, the Bengals beat the Eagles, and Joe Burrow has a better performance than Carson Wentz. It's an interesting one. I picked the Eagles, and for better performance, I think about even. I think about even for Burrow Wentz, for my prediction. But how hot of a take is this? I don't think it's. I'll say real. I think it's realistic, but it's kind of hot at the same time there, because I think the matchup favors the Eagles, but the Bengals can win, and Carson Wentz is playing like arguably the worst quarterback in football, even though we all don't think that's really how it is when it's all said and done. So Joe Burrow can outplay him. So two things need to happen here. They're really not super hot. That's why I do think they're realistic. If that happens, looking a little disastrous for the Eagles and Carson Wentz there to start the season. And it's possible. It's possible. Next one from Taj, Baltimore. Kansas City will combine for 80-plus points, and that is that Monday night game, maybe the game of the year already here in Week 3, the two best teams in football, the top two teams in my power rankings. So 80-plus points, so both teams scoring over 40, or, somebody scores 50, that maybe then the other team can score, 30 or so. But I'm assuming, if this is going to happen, it's probably both teams in the 40 range. This is interesting. Remember that game a couple years ago, Chiefs-Rams? Back and forth, score touchdown after touchdown. I like some defense. I appreciate some good defense, but that game was unique. It was fun. Can we get a game like that again? I think it's possible. I think it's very possible with these two, maybe the best two offenses in football. You can throw a couple other teams in the mix there, but, I think it's possible. That's a tough one, though. I like this one because that would be interesting. I think it's possible. I think, that would be great if we can see that again. I'm going to say, I'm going to say it's hot. I was about to do piping, but I think with these offenses, I think you can run the Chiefs. They've missed some tackles this year on defense. Nothing alarming, really. I think the Ravens can run it up. And it feels like the Chiefs are, last week against the Chargers, they had a little bit of a scare against a good defense, and the Ravens, arguably could have the best defense in football right now. And they got a strong secondary going against Mahomes. But you look at the Chargers last week, and the Chargers weren't really too much of a threat offensively. It felt like when the Chiefs absolutely had to score, they went and scored, and they won the game off that. If the Ravens are scoring at will like they can, like I said, they can run Lamar can run all over them. Mahomes and company can keep up. If they know they have to score, it just feels like that's what there's not a whole bunch of logic behind that, but it's just what it feels like it is with the Chiefs. A team that we know can score at any time there. So it's very hot. It's definitely a very hot take, especially by my score prediction. I do think it'd be somewhat high, but I think it's possible there. I think it's possible, and that'll be an exciting game there. Next from Brady Polk, Titans put up 48+ on Minnesota. Right off the bat, I'm going to say that's a lot of points. I was going to say hot right off the bat. That's a lot of points. I'm not going to say it's close to piping. I'll say hot. The Vikings defense looks pretty rough, and their offense sure ain't helping them. They're constantly on the field. Now you have the injury of Anthony Barr. Danielle Hunter's not out there. Can't get much pass rush. The coverage rate isn't good. It's pretty much Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith out there carrying the load. Titans are a very good team, so I do think it's possible. I will call it very hot still. Not quite piping, a little bit under that, because 48 points is a lot of points. I don't think they do it, but it's definitely possible here, just looking at the two teams. I look at the Vikings, I think maybe the worst interior defensive line in football, and then looking at the next level, yes, they have Kendricks, but about it. Anthony Barr out now, and then Derrick Henry, arguably the best running back in football. It seems like the Vikings struggle more with the tougher to bring down type of running back, rather than the speed guys. So that'd be Derrick Henry, which he's a mixture of both, but mainly is, one of the hardest guys, maybe the hardest guys to bring down football. So they can get going in that aspect, and then they can throw some play action pass at you, kind of keep it unpredictable, and then you can throw on the Vikings corners. So it's possible they run up the score here a bit. It is a pretty hot take because 48 points is a lot, though. Next from Andrew Ogden, Josh Kelly and Austin Eckler both go for 150+ yards from scrimmage. So that would be just total yards there, running, receiving, against the Panthers. Both of them go 150 yards. I like this one a lot. This is a good one. It's hot. I'm thinking here. It sounds ridiculously hot here. It sounds ridiculously hot because both the running backs. So Josh Kelly's not going to be too involved in the passing game, the receiving game for his case. So you'd probably have to get around 120, 130 probably rushing yards. And then Eckler, could just get, he can kind of, Eckler, it's very possible. It's very, very possible for Eckler. He kind of can just split it, He could even go, I think it's very possible he can get 50 rushing yards. I think that'll be simple, 50 rushing yards, 100 receiving yards in a game like this against Bengals. I think it's Eckler, very, very likely, I think, to do this. Josh Kelly, on the other hand, I'm going to go, I might be going a little bold here by not giving it piping hot, not giving it hot, but actually giving it realistic hot here. It's definitely a hot take, but it's got a realistic feel to it at the same time. I like Josh Kelly. I am starting him in one of my fantasy leagues this week. I am starting him because I like him against the Panthers. Again, I think 150+ for Eckler is very doable, especially against the Panthers, but especially because it's Austin Eckler. He can do that not every week, but at any time. Josh Kelly, 130 rushing yards. It's bold, though. That's really bold. That's a lot of yards there, especially when you got Eckler. I think Kelly runs pretty well in this game. 100, maybe 120, then he's going to tack on 30 receiving yards. I think he can do it. It's hot still. It's definitely hot. I think it's realistic. I like that one a lot. That's a good one. Stephen Paul, Chase Claypool will take off this weekend, making him a must-start in fantasy in the future. I like this one as well because it's kind of a two-parter here, but I like it because just the topic of the Steelers receivers and Claypool. We've seen him glimpses. He gets the ball here and there, and he makes this huge play when he gets the ball. He's a big play waiting to happen. It's kind of how he was in Notre Dame. And I like Claypool a lot. I was a big Claypool guy in college, pre-draft, now. And really, they have such good receivers, but at any given time, you can probably argue that he's really their second best receiver. I'm not saying maybe he is, but I think at any time he can be. And then Juju hasn't practiced yet this week, but Juju's their best receiver. Really, Claypool might have you take every trait, every piece of playing receiver. Claypool actually might have the most to his game on that Steelers roster for receivers. That's pretty wild to think about, but it actually might be the case. He's a big body guy, contested catch guy, but then he has the speed, but you can get him a screen pass, a quick slant, anything downfield. It's pretty ridiculous. I think he can play pretty well this week, given that there's some injuries there. Juju's hurt. He might play still. I'm going to say, because it's a two-parter, that's what makes it tough. I'm gonna say it's piping still. It's a tough one to do because of a two-parter. I think he can take off this week, but I don't think we're ever really going to consider him this year a must-start in fantasy because they have Juju Smith-Schuster, they have Deontay Johnson, they have James Washington, and they have the tight ends too. They like using Vance McDonald, Eric Ebron. So it's never really a safe play ever to play Claypool, especially this year. So a must-start. Maybe here and there he can be, but yeah, that's an interesting one for sure because I think he's very capable of being that guy. But because of the collection of talent around him, will he be that guy? That's kind of the question there. Ben Shank, Jeff Driskel throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in a shootout victory over the Buccaneers. And this one has piping. It is above the piping level here. I see a lot of these crazy ones, and I like to grab one of these. There was probably crazier ones than this, honestly. So I always want to get ones that are above piping. They're just wild. I think grab one of these that catch my eyes. So Ben brought a pretty wild one here. Jeff Driskel, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. I think. Let me get rid of the piping. I think the Buccaneers defense might actually be the strongest part of that team, which is wild. I think it's a very, very good defense. It's only going to get better. They have every level. Of a defense. It's a pretty complete defense. Probably could use another safety perhaps next to Winfield for the future, but for the most part, it feels pretty complete. Playmakers, pass rush, run stoppability. It's going to be very, very hard for Driskel to do this. I think Blake Bortles will replace Driskel in a few weeks, I'm going to say. So that one's definitely out there. I kind of like to grab one of the out there ones every week. But yeah. From Dalton Colby, Shaq Barrett. I like this one a lot. Staying on the Buccaneers Broncos train here. I like this one. Shaq Barrett will have 3+ sacks as he returns to Denver. Remember, he's in Denver, but they got Von Miller. They got Bradley Chubb. So he's a rotation guy. He doesn't get on the field a whole bunch. So he's not, I don't want to say no-name guy, but he's, kind of an under-radar guy. Goes to Tampa Bay. Has, 19.5 sacks last year, and he's a pretty darn good pass rusher. Now he's playing. Now it's a little bit of a revenge game. You didn't play me enough is what he's thinking. You did not play me enough. I got the talent. I proved you wrong here. He's going against Denver. Will he have 3+ sacks as he returns? 3 sacks sounds like a lot. It sounds like it's going to be piping. You look at the Denver offensive line. You look at who's quarterback. Jeff Driskel. He actually stepped into pressure last week. I think I almost even went warm. I almost called this warm a little bit, but 3 sacks is a lot. He could do it, though. It's definitely realistic. We're going to call it hot still, but I almost went warm there because I think Shaq Barrett against his former team, I definitely think he can do it here. That's one I like a lot. It's a good one. Eli Hansford, Steelers will have at least 5 sacks and a turnover. And this one sounds a little wild. First thought, first glance, first time hearing it, sounds a little wild, but it's really not. I'm going to say it's warm. I'm going to say this one is warm. It's very realistic here. 5 sacks is a lot, but looking at the Texans' struggling offensive line, and you look at the best pass rush right now, the most pressure rate, with T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, the best blitzing team right now, against that very poor offensive line there. And Watson, I love Watson. I love Watson, but sometimes he does kind of, because he likes to step up and kind of throw on the move a little bit. Sometimes he steps up in the pressure as well. I think 5 sacks is possible. Watson's not like a turnover-prone guy, but because of all that pressure and because they're going to be they're going to be desperate to make that big play at some point, even if they're in the game, because they, could be the last chance. They could be just forced to put a bunch of pressure at any given time. A turnover definitely could happen. I definitely think this is realistic here. It does seem like a lot, but yeah, I think it's definitely doable for the Steelers. Matt Baer. John Brown will have more receiving yards than Stefon Diggs versus the Rams, and this is a really good one too. It might sound pretty bold because Diggs is leading the league. It is bold because Diggs is leading the league in receiving yards, and he's been outstanding with Josh Allen specifically there. But I'm actually gonna say it's warm. I'm gonna say it maybe a little bold of me, but Diggs is gonna probably be shadowed by Ramsey, and I think Diggs can handle Ramsey. I think Ramsey can handle Diggs. I think it'll be a back and forth. They're both gonna have wins, both gonna have losses, and Diggs will probably have a good game. I still think, but they're gonna spread the field. They're gonna use as much receivers targets as they can there, and that'll open things up for John Brown. To be clear, I think Stefon Diggs is a lot better than John Brown. But I think it's very realistic that John Brown will have more receiving yards for the reasons that I explained. So that's one I like there a lot. I don't expect too much action in this game, too much scoring. You never know, though. But yeah, I think John Brown could just edge him out there. Could just edge Stefon Diggs out, which would be pretty. Wouldn't be that crazy, but it'd be that'd be a great game for Brown. Colts 4-3 gamer. If the Lions lose this week, Patricia is gone. And that's a pretty good one, too. Still trying to decide in my head what I want to do with this one. It's tough to fire somebody. And what's going on. I guess it's hard to. You can have an in-house guy step up, guy like Bevel, which he's been pretty disappointing as well. I'm gonna call it realistic, but hot still. I think it's pretty realistic. It's hot because you actually look at what the game is here. It's what's the matchup? What's going to happen in this game? Arizona Cardinals. We're all probably predicting, I think everyone out there is probably predicting the same thing I'm predicting here, is somewhat of a shootout game, high-scoring game. And I think most of us have the Cardinals winning, even the Lions could win the game. And that would mean, they lose because they just couldn't keep up, but they probably put up enough points to win a normal game. So mainly defense and just having another loss and kind of going back to the first 2 weeks. I'm about to say the Bears game because that was a major choke show there. They blew that one. But the Packers game, they started off hot and they let them come back. Defense was the problem. So if they lose this game in a shootout as well, the collection of things could get Matt Patricia fired. And then because the offense is looking okay, Bevel can kind of get the bump, the nod. So I do think it's realistic, but it's still pretty hot at the same time. But yeah, it's pretty disappointing what's going on there, especially if they lose again. So possible. Timmy, Vikings fire Mike Zimmer after losing 3 straight. And I even though this one is it's an obvious piping hot, I do like this one because what's going on with the Vikings? Nobody expected this. It looks like Timmy's a Packers fan. I don't think he even expected this right now, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing trying to figure out what the problem is. And it's a collection of things. It's a collection of things because they do have talent there, but quarterback play's not there. Offensive line play certainly isn't there. Defense, it's just a couple guys playing hard. It looks like everyone's declining a little bit, even though no one's that long-time veteran. Harrison Smith's that guy, but he's the one that's playing okay right now. So what's the problem? And the coaching plays a big part. I've been talking about that. It's a lot of things. Guys have to play better. Guys have to find ways, but I think coaching is a big part. But why piping hot? Even if they start with extremely disappointing 0-3 when they have the talent, especially when you have talent, it must be the coaching. But they just extended Zimmer. They definitely like Zimmer a lot. They know there was some changes to the defense, so they probably deep down probably expected it and can't blame Zimmer a whole bunch. I do blame, the head coach is responsible for this mess. But I actually do blame the offensive side a little more. And I do, something I do dislike about Zimmer is he really has no involvement and he tries to, I think, but he's mainly just a really good defensive coach. But offense, I got a big problem there. Kubiak, some might call, their offense coordinator, Gary Kubiak, might refer to him as a legend, really. He's won Super Bowls as a player, mainly, will be known for when he's been a coach or been within the staff of a team, and a great mind. He'll always be known as a great mind guy. But, to me, I think the league has changed now. He's kind of always been known for run the ball first, which works with the Vikings, but then use that pocket passing quarterback, which Kirk Cousins kind of is. I just don't think that works anymore. And it's become, since it's been going on for so long, and it seems like we have the same defensive coordinators throughout the NFL, it's become predictable, and there's no uniqueness to this. There's no urgency. There's no. Maybe they'll change it up. It's only week 3 now. Maybe they'll change it up. But I blame the coaching in general. I blame a lot of players. But I don't think that they're going to put this on Zimmer really at all, even though I think they should at least a little bit. I think that's pretty piping hot, even though that'd be extremely disappointing if they start like that. From Harris, Texans defense carries them to a win with 6 sacks and 2 turnovers. I like this one a lot. I'm glad he kind of brought it up in this way. It's definitely piping. I think that's the cool thing about this video, because there's ones that I think could be piping, but I also, think that they're possible. And the reason I like that he brought it up, and I think it's pretty clear that it's piping. 6 sacks, 2 turnover. It's doable though. There could be piping ones that are also kind of doable. You look at the Steelers' offensive line's a little beat up. Big Ben under pressure. It could cause some problems there. I thought they added some good blitzes last week. Some good blitz packages against the Ravens. The Ravens' offensive line looked pretty, that was probably their worst game in a long time, really. So credit to the Texans there, J.J. Watt, and, they're blitzing Cunningham a little bit. Amenahu can get going here. Maybe Merciless can get going. Again, beat up offensive line. It's piping at the same time. It's realistic for those reasons I explained. But the reason I liked it so much is that, he brought up the win. I did pick the Steelers, and I picked the Steelers because their pass rush, I think, will be, is the matchup problem. But if the Texans win, what is the key to winning? You could easily say protect Watson, then Watson will have a really good game. And that's the easy thing to say, but it's also a long shot. I think which quarterback is pressured more probably loses. Which pass rush affects the other. That's what I should say. Which pass rush affects the other quarterback more, I think wins. And we saw a glimpse of the Texans last week. So that's why I like this one, because if the Texans do win, let's say I missed this Sunday. I have no idea what happened, and you told me the Texans won the game. I'm going to say, I'll probably say Watson probably had a pretty good game, but I'm going to predict that it's probably because the Texans pass rush got after it a bit. They got out Big Ben a little bit, and they created some turnovers, because Big Ben, remember the last couple of years, he was healthy. A lot of production, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. Could help his team win games, but he turned the ball over a bit. So it's very real. It's actually, it's pretty, I almost want to switch it to hot. Here, because I think it's a little more, and that doesn't mean it's realistic, but I think it's a little more realistic than the piping. But yeah, I like that one. Moving on. Eric, T.Y. Hilton will have the most receiving yards in week 3. Book it. So he's almost guaranteeing it here. T.Y. Hilton been very disappointing. See the past, he has these injuries pop up. Yeah, I remember last year he had those injuries on and off, and he's finally back. It's a primetime game against the Texans. T.Y. Hilton always dominates the Texans. I remember I was feeling the Colts and T.Y. Hilton in that game, and he kind of cost him at the end there with a couple drops there, I believe it was. I know there was one crucial one, if I remember, remembering a year ago. But, that's kind of where it started. But my point of bringing that up was, we were kind of like, yeah, he's kind of hurt, just coming back. The drops, I'm not really concerned about that. T.Y. Hilton's a great receiver. Starting this year, we're only 2 weeks in. He's got quite a few drops. I thought a couple that actually hurt them big time in that Jags game, in that last drive specifically. So can he pick it up here? I think he has a bounce-back game. I think he picks it up a little bit. But I think most receiving yards, I won't call it piping. I'll call it hot because I do think he picks it up. They're playing the Jets, remember. And I think he's still got that run after the catch ability. So get him. I think they'll try to get him the kind of the easier plays. And the Jets have the most missed tackles by a long shot in the NFL defensively. Missed tackles on defense, of course. So I think T.Y. Hilton can rack up some yards. So it's a little more realistic than piping, but it is pretty darn hot. But something interesting to monitor there: the fall of T.Y. Hilton. Is it much of a fall? It looks like it at this way too early stage. Will other guys start to step up? Paris Campbell. He got hurt. He's hurt, so that's unfortunate. He'll miss some time. Week 1, he actually had the most snaps played, so that does increase some things for T.Y. Hilton there and some other guys as well. And then the last one here, Cameron Sullivan. The Saints-Packers game is not a squeaker, meaning a tight game. And instead, the Packers blow out the Saints as Rodgers continues his dominant streak. Yeah, I picked the Packers to win, kind of a toss-up game. I actually said it would be a squeaker. I think it'll be a tight game being in New Orleans, but I think Kamara could be a problem for the Packers. That could be a big reason the Packers lose or the Saints win. Maybe Kamara. If the Saints pass rush, which is very capable, gets after Rodgers, doesn't let him kind of roll out right and kind of sit there, even though he's been getting out the ball out pretty quick, that could be a reason the Saints win. But everything else kind of sides towards the Packers. And I look at the quarterback play right now, and it definitely can change any week. But I think Rodgers is not only outplaying Breeze, but by way more than what we expected here. Aaron Jones has been playing phenomenal. I think it'd be a problem for the Saints as well. Devontae Adams, if he plays, I think it'd be a problem. I really want them. I talked about this, and I don't remember which video I talked about, maybe the score predictions video. I really want, I think they will too, because I want them to use Zadarius Smith all over, which they do. That's why he was so great last year. But blitzing almost blitzing, he's an edge rusher, but bringing him off the ball on the inside and blitzing him through there, or rushing him, whatever you want to call it, through the inside, I would strongly recommend that. I think that could help them in the pressure department, because they're not going to win. And these guys it's very doable for them to win. The Smith bros, and Rashawn Gary actually had a pretty good game last week. They can do it on the outside, but it's a tough task, against the Saints. Ramczyk, Armstead, very tough, So, and then interior, they're solid as well, but that's where you can win. So bring Zadarius Smith from the inside. Get creative with this. There's a lot of things like that side towards the Packers. Blowout. I guess define blowout. I'm actually going to say it's pretty hot, but I think it's realistic. I think the Packers are playing much better ball right now, but we only got a small sample size. It's going to be a much tougher test than the Raiders. It's possible. It's possible. I do think it's hot. My prediction was Packers in a squeaker, but I do think it's possible. It's interesting to think about there, but the difference in quarterback play could be the difference there for sure. So it looks like that's going to wrap up this week's episode. We'll do this every single week. We also got fantasy videos where we answer your questions. We show your tweet on the screen. And we do that for other videos as well. We also have plenty of predictions, power rankings, update every single week. We got you covered here. So please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you don't miss a thing. You're going to want to follow that Twitter to get involved and keep up to date with our channel and the NFL, live tweeting throughout every NFL game, Thursdays, Sundays, Mondays. So check it out. Link down below. We much appreciate it. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.